What's up, Outsiders fans? I'm Josh McCouga. Welcome back to the official after show of WGN America's Outsiders. I'm here with Nicole Sterling, Tiffany Commons, Brett Wagner, and guys, we have a very, very special guest on the telephone. You guys know him as Big Foster, David Morse, everybody.
Woo! Yeah!
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Doing well, David. How are you?
I'm grand, thanks. I'm happy to be with you.
God, we're just such huge fans of this show, and honestly, through good and bad with Big Foster, we're just big fans of you. How's it been like being inside the mind, the body, the soul of Big Foster up there on Shea Mountain?
It's a very complicated place to be, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Understand.
Yeah, you know, when I was originally asked to do the show, and I think a lot of people know this, the character was very sort of one-dimensional. He was really just kind of the bad guy, and the intention really was to kill him off at the end of season one. And when I was asked to do it, I really didn't think it would be really good for the show, or really as much fun as they thought, being just this bad guy. It wouldn't be so much fun to play or to write for. So Peter Mattei was, you know, he was very open to making him more complicated. And the real fun of that first season was, how do you take him from being that bad guy to eventually falling in love with the woman he's stolen from his son. So, you know, he's a complicated but fun place to be.
Right.
You sure are. I don't want to say this season you're a lovable villain, but you do have amazing moments of just retribution. You get us, the fans, back on your side, because after season one, I think we were all figuring you were shot and dead, and the Shea Mountain was going to move on. Through your whole evolution that you talked about, what has been your favorite moment, I guess, as Big Foster?
Well, I would say, I'm not sure the favorite moment, but more the favorite series of moments, a relationship. It's really the story with Guinevere, with the Chilean place, because nobody expected it. We didn't expect it, and when we realized, when these two people, she's just trying to save the clan when she agrees to marry me. I'm trying to keep my enemies close, even though I've sort of secretly longed for her most of my life, for her life. But then when they actually get together and they have this kind of intimacy, something happens between them that neither of them expected. And I think it changed the whole storyline, but also I think for the two of us, it was really fun to do as well.
Awesome.
David, I'm so curious, because you have gone through such an evolution as Big Foster, and I've loved every moment of it. Is there a favorite version of him that you really, I know you said your favorite moments are with Gwen, but like a favorite version of Big Foster that you really enjoy portraying?
Well, drowning my mother wasn't too bad.
Oh man!
Wow.
Yeah, but if you noticed, I cried after I drowned her. So,
good.
I'm not totally heartless.
Right.
I mean, you did steal your son's wife,
Right.
drowned your mother.
did
You're a real
steal her.
family man, if you will.
There's some compassion there.
It's all for the good of it's all for the good of the clan.
Yeah.
So,
Always.
you know,
Good stuff.
yeah.
So, David, you know, we've seen that there's been a lot of change in Big Foster over the course of this season, but you know, it seems that Gwen is just not having it at all. And she even brings up his faults, in particular with your relationship with Little Foster. So do you feel that Big Foster thinks that he failed as a father and he's willing to work on that relationship, or he doesn't really care?
Oh, no, he obviously cares. I really think when, you know, they really intended for him to die at the end of the season. Yeah. When we kind of realized in the first season that he was going to come back, they still wanted to kill him or believe he was dead. So we really had to go through that kind of death, you know, near-death experience. And when he came out of it, I don't think it was a matter of I was a failed father and now I'm going to be a good father. It was all he knew for the first time in his life, that he really loved two people on the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. And the thing that drove him back up the mountain was getting back to the two of them.
Right.
He had no clue how to be a good father. Doesn't know how to do it. But he knows that he loves his son. and that's what he's after.
And given that, at the end of this last episode, it just seemed that he realized that Big Foster and Gwen is just not going to be together, but he wants to do everything he can and save this mountain because he knows the war that's about to come. Do you feel like if there was a choice that Big Foster had to make, would he choose the mountain or would he choose his family?
I think he probably knows as much as anybody that the mountain is sort of, even though there's a lot of power and magic on the mountain, ultimately it's about the clan. The clan has been together for 200 years, the mountain or longer, and the mountain has been where they've lived those 200 years. But it really comes down to the clan, and I think he's really that's always been in his heart foremost.
David, I appreciate you coming on. I've been saying since day one, and my co-host here will back me up, this is, quite frankly, one of the greatest performances I think you've ever done as an actor, and I think you really deserve an Emmy nomination for this. I've been saying it since day one.
Yes, he has.
Now,
is this Brett?
This is
Brett. Yes, sir.
Brett, I want to give you a big thank you. Now I saw this after show where you started to say this in front of Ryan.
I did.
And
True story.
I noticed that Ryan cut you off really fast.
He did.
He did. And now I'm very happy that you got to express the whole thing. So I appreciate that.
I got a little follow-up question now. This is a real physical role, and I'm a big guy myself. I'm about 6'4", 300 pounds. How did you, thank you.
I'm a solid 5'8", 185, David, so no big deal.
But I know you're a big guy, and this is a real physical role. Do you train for this to be Big Foster? How do you stay in shape for this role?
If I said I ate spinach, I don't think you would believe that's the whole thing. Yes, I did a show called St. Elsewhere a long time ago.
Sure.
And I had done a lot of TV movies before that. And Sean Penn, I did a couple movies with him, Indian Runner and Crossing Guard. And I was probably 185, 6'4", 185 when he asked me to do Crossing Guard. And we both agreed that this guy who I played was getting out of prison and probably spent a lot of time working out in prison. So I spent 3 months with a trainer to really change myself physically. And I put on, in 3 months, 25 pounds of muscle. I ate 6 meals a day and went from 185 to almost 220. And I started getting a lot of work, based around that sort of transformation. So I really kept myself in that kind of shape since then. But I also, because it's so, doing the fighting, doing the stunts, I've always liked doing my own stunts as much as I possibly can, doing all the, as much fighting as I can. So I try to, train for that in different ways and be ready for it when it comes.
Yes.
Don't mess with David Morse is basically what you're
Seriously?
saying. That's basically what we're getting.
Well, mess with Brett personally, but
If you go through me, you got to go through David. Hey, one other thing that Ryan Hurst said on the show was that he didn't think he was going to do the show until he heard you were on it. Does that make you feel good when another actor, as Ryan Hurst says, he wanted to do this show so he could be working with you?
Obviously, it's I don't think there's anything more flattering or meaningful in a way for another actor to say something like that, and it means a great deal to me. I'm incredibly fond of Ryan, I have to tell you. So coming from him, it truly means a lot.
It's awesome. He was fantastic on the show, and David, it's great having you on here. Is there Chris Underwood, who's usually here on the show with us, is not here today. He wanted to ask: is there one piece of Farrell gear that you put on that really puts you in character? Is it the wig? Is it is it your vest?
Yeah, it absolutely is the wig. We tried the wardrobe, when we first started doing the show, before we started shooting, but when we were doing the camera work and all of that, the camera test, character test, wardrobe, all of that. The wardrobe is fantastic. The world is fantastic, and Ryan talked about it. It is amazing how much this script inspired the artists, production designers, the chair designer, wardrobe designers, actors, and we put all that stuff on without the wig, and it just was not right. And as soon as that hair went on, it completed the whole thing. And it's true. I go, you go into that trailer in the morning, and almost 2 hours later, I come out, and I feel like I come out as a different person.
It's awesome.
I totally agree. It's, hair really
hair.
sets off.
Hair sets off
the outfit. It really
Or
does.
lack thereof. David, what,
I was just saying, one of the things with the background, the people who did all the background work, who were all from Pittsburgh, from that area, most of them had never done background on a show before, and they are terrific. They've really been terrific,
awesome.
and seeing them grow and everything. But they never saw me without that hair. They only ever saw me on the set with that hair. The first day I showed up with it as myself. They were so incredibly disappointed.
You chopped off your hair.
Well, being a guy from
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, David, it makes me happy that you say the people from Pittsburgh were lovely. So representing my city well. We have to ask you, our favorite scene in the entire show with you is in the crack den's basement when the woman has her way with you. Can you tell us a little bit about that scene?
Oh gosh.
Well, first of all, when I first saw her on the set, she said, you probably don't remember me. And I said, I don't think I do. Well, I had studied in New York with a man named Bill Esper 40 years ago when I first went to New York in the 70s. And and when you study with him, I'm sure you're all actors, when you do scenes, you work with your partner in their apartment, and then you go back and you do it in the class. Well, I had an acting partner, a woman who we did a lot of scenes together. And it turned out they were roommates, and I had met her 40 years ago.
Wow.
So then she showed up, 40 years later, and we're doing this scene together.
Oh my God.
Wow.
When she auditioned for the scene, she lives in Wisconsin, so she had to do it by tape. She didn't know about that scene where she was going to be climbing on top of me and raping me.
Oh no.
It was kind of a rude surprise when she got to Pittsburgh and found out that she was going to be doing this. And honestly, she told me she was really worried about it because she has kids, and she'd never done a scene like that, and she was really worried about what her kids would say. And she was incredibly nervous about having to do that scene. And you all will know it. You're so vulnerable when you two of you are in that kind of situation. Now, the only thing I can sort of compare it to is going into really cold water. Now, you can either jump into it, or you could kind of wade in and take half an hour to get in and then chicken out and go out.
Right.
When it came when they rolled the cameras, she jumped in.
She sure did.
Yeah, she did. And I was really proud of her.
I love that.
That is unbelievable. Small world coming full circle. David, listen, I think that from all of us here at the Outsiders After Show, myself, Nicole, Tiffany, Brett, Chris, we loved watching you on this show, the season 1 and season 2. We love Big Foster. We love what you've done and what you didn't do. Even stealing the dynamite and going against your Brennan. We just loved every minute of it. So thank you for everything you did.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for doing this and representing the show, and and thank you for everybody who watches it, all the fans who, have watched the after show and the show. I appreciate it, and we're all grateful. So thanks so much.
Yeah.
We can't wait for the finale, and thank you so much, David. Really, really appreciate it. You're an amazing guy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, David Morse, huh?
Yes.
Big Foster.
He watches the after show.
Yeah, he does.
I love it.
I knew you were going to get your Emmy thing in there, and I loved it. Because,
I loved it.
No, listen,
So good.
I agree with you, man. He's fantastic.
Yes.
Two people. Look, you could hand out. Everybody's great on that show. Two people that really should be nominated are him and Sheriff Houghton.
Yeah.
Quite
Thomas, right, yeah.
two great actors, two great characters, and like you said, they're really getting into this thing.
100%.
And how great is it that we're all actors here, but we can't go to the director and say, I don't think I should die at the end of that first season. And let's talk a little. Let's make it a little deeper.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
100%.
That's like a dream.
Yeah.
So good.
Now I want to work with David Morse.
We all do. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, and that story about the girl being the roommate, that's crazy.
I love stories
Yeah.
like that. Oh my gosh.
It's so fun.
That's just
Well, it turned out to be
crazy.
it's one of those memorable scenes that'll be. I want to see some bloopers on that.
I know.
There's
For
gotta
season
be.
2
And
DVD.
Jump in
Yeah.
and go. All right, well, let's jump into the episode. That's called a segue, guys.
Yeah,
You're
that was
welcome.
a transition.
First of all, we start with what we know. Listen, I obviously, you've heard me say it a billion times in the show, I grew up in Pittsburgh, so I know what a mountain looks like when it's been stripped down to nothing, and the entire area is living on a strip mine. You have this thing called mine subsidence, right? And it ruins golf courses, it ruins houses, it ruins neighborhoods. And that's what the coal company will do to Shea Mountain. That's what it is. And that opening scene with Lil Foster and Elon may be my favorite scene in the entire show. Besides last year's season 2 finale with the war starting, that was unbelievable. But before we go to that, let's go to one more clip of David Morse breaking down what's happening on Shea Mountain.
Get it!
Well, what a glorious day. If I go down, it's gonna be kicking.
Whoa, David Morse!
The transformation.
Big Foster. Listen, I could watch that. The time-lapse photography for me, when they do hair and they do makeup, that stuff's just badass.
Yeah.
And,
No wonder it takes 2 hours.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I realized there's that much going on.
Right? The tattoos, all that stuff. I mean, Brett, you've had to do tattoos, you know.
Yeah.
I've done horror makeup where you're in there for 3.5 hours. So
Yeah.
2 hours is pretty good. But what a cool transformation. Very cool that the folks get to see what it takes.
know.
And he just talked about it,
Yeah.
which is even better.
So cool. And we were talking before the clip that if we're talking about visual effects and you see what Shea Mountain looks like when it's all gone, legitimately, it would take a coal company 8 years to just shred that whole mountain.
Wow.
And what we saw and what him seeing with Elon and all that kind of stuff really shook me to the core. How'd you guys feel about that scene?
I thought it was interesting. It was really prophetic for Lil Foster to be the one to see it, and for the mountain to visit him and to show him the drawing and like a similar drawing that he clearly didn't do, but like as a reminder. And that kind
call
of
back to the drawing that we kind of talked about, right? In the
we
prison.
were like, what was that
Yeah.
drawing of? And it's the valley that he loves to see. And I think where he was in the previous episodes where he was going to build a cabin, and
Yeah.
this is where the elders came the first time. And what was really interesting, I was like, oh, Ryan Hurst, Lil Foster is the one that saw that the mountain showed that to. So maybe the mountain is setting him up to be the savior of the clan.
Savior of the clan, but also to really kind of take that next step of like, listen, I saw this vision. We don't have a chance. We're at war now, and like Big Foster said, which we'll get into in a bit, you're not a wartime Brennan.
Yeah, and I think that he was already battling within himself just the issues of being in prison and coming back, and he just wanted to isolate himself. But the mountain is like, no, you need to take charge. You need to work. Otherwise, it's going to be gone. Right. So it was really good that they.
Well, remember we had him here on the show, and we asked him, "Would you take the staff, the stick, and become the Brennan?" He's like, "If the mountain needed me to, or my family needed me to." Well, it looks like the family needs me to right now.
Exactly.
So I think that's foreshadowing.
And do we think that in the finale, maybe we see the reunion of he and Gwen?
I think they're really teeing it up.
They had that moment.
They're teeing it up. They're teeing up the, Big Foster's all the way now. We'll talk about that later. I don't think it'll be like an immediate thing.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be maybe Gwen being like, yeah, you're the dad. And let's figure this family unit out.
And then Maury comes out of the cage
Right.
and he's in the hut. Yeah. There you go.
I think there's so much at play right now that it's bigger than them. It's bigger than their love story. That they actually need to work on saving this mountain. Otherwise, they're not going to have any place to be in love and raise a family or anything like that.
Oh, 100%.
Well, I think it's going to be a cliffhanger. I think they're going to just leave it there. There might be something in crossing. I think you're right. We're going to do battle. So they're going to be fighting next to each other.
Oh, yeah.
And he might say, hey, you're pregnant, get out. Step to the back, but it's not going to happen.
So let's go into what is kind of going on with Matt Myers in this basement area, I guess, right? Him in the darkness and figuring out, like he's talking to the governor and he's talking to the lieutenant governor and then in that office, like he's really doing some underground stuff here with Gordon. We don't know who half these people are, right? But he's,
They're the man.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yes.
Well, so it was Don Fouché and the lieutenant governor. So we haven't seen the governor, but it was definitely, and then some cronies. You got the cronies. But what was really interesting, since James was talking about it last week, what's really interesting was that it was very obvious that he is not in charge. He is not the man with the plan, but he is the one that is going to try to save his skin, and he's setting up for even bigger stuff. So he's trying to pass the buck as high as possible to the federal government, but in order to do that, some shady stuff has to happen.
But I mean, he might not necessarily be the one in charge, but I don't think anyone in that room was also had a plan. Like, he has a plan, and he's just like, I'll just take responsibility for it. Don't worry about it. I got it. And it might just be a power play.
Well, you said, I'll take responsibility, and I'll leave. So you guys can deal with it.
Right.
No,
No,
wait a minute.
leave.
Wait, Matt.
Don't leave.
No. Well, what are your suggestions? So he's playing them, too. He knows he's in trouble, right? He knows that he can lose everything. But he's still got a little game. But he's got some game.
Because the game they're playing with, okay, first of all, he's in there, and maybe my favorite line of the whole episode was when they were like, all right, we liked Haley, okay? Cut the BS, Matt, right? Because they knew that they knew what they did. You're not going to, basically shame a lost soul, if you will. But there was that really awesome moment that everybody in the room knew what happened, but like, okay, we're not going to talk about this. This is what we have to do. What's going? Because that's some shady backroom politics, and I loved every freaking second of it. And especially when you think, oh, we're in Kentucky. We're getting towards the South. There are some good old boys down there.
When they like shut the guy out and they're like, don't ask what you don't want to know. And poor little intern guy is like, what?
Poor little intern guy, probably our favorite character thus far. Yes, definitely.
I don't know who he was.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest surprise over all of that is how Gordon progressed. Because I just knew he's going to change his viewpoint. He's going to turn his back on his captors or whatever, and then be for the Farrells, and then just to find out he's a fanatic. He's crazy. He's for nature.
He's for nature in his own skin. He don't want to go to prison. So he can say all he wants. Yeah, he's nuts, and it's for this, but you know what, the bottom line, and then Matt says, hey, let's see how you feel when the mountain is, when little pebbles, it's made to rubbish. Right. We'll see how your thought process is.
Because, listen,
conviction.
I was kind of thrown both ways with Gordon's double booking, if you will, because I thought, for the most part, we were just going to see Gordon, and he was going to go up there, and he was going to play something, but he really went full out. Let him get the dynamite, and then now with the explosives and all that kind of stuff, they got some real weapons. Now you're talking federal crime.
You're trying to
terrorism. Terrorism.
When they started saying that, when they said this is you can get him for terrorist. Domestic terrorism.
Yeah.
I mean, that's life in prison.
Yeah.
You're done.
So, we're all in agreeing, because I believe that was the plan all along, was for them to get the perfect amount of dynamite, and for Gordon to look like he's helping them to get the perfect amount of dynamite to be domestic terrorism, right? That was the plan all along.
I don't think Matt and them thought about it.
Yeah, it wasn't
but
Matt's plan.
Gordon, to save his ass, was like, he thought about it. He was like, hey, look it. I didn't do it the way you thought, but look what you get now.
Right, exactly.
I think that was Matt's plan, because he was like, I got a plan to bring the federal government in. What's a better plan? He knows if you set up big construction things, if you set up a trap, if you make it interesting enough for them to come steal.
Those construction vehicles are insured. I mean,
but they've done it. They've broken into the construction sites multiple times. Right. They've tried to destroy the weaponry multiple times. It's like,
and now they have assault rifles.
Here's the big honey pot with gold sitting in it. Yeah. Come steal me. I have a feeling that was.
Well, he said
plan.
blow up a building too. He said blow up their
corporate
office.
So
they're coming for it. So obviously we have the domestic terrorism going on. We have the break-in. We have Gordon. We have all of this thing, but we still have Sheriff Wade Houghton doing
Good police work.
Oh my
Great
God.
police work.
So
Not good.
detective.
Great.
He is going after every angle. The dude knows something is up, and I love him. And he sniffs out everything like Scooby-Doo. The dude can find a clue.
Matt Myers, I would have gotten away with it too.
Yeah.
Who is so dedicated? Who would go to a bathroom, find a substance on the floor, buy a toilet, scoop it up.
Pepper.
Yeah. Who does that?
No, he sniffs it,
He
and
definitely
he got a
didn't
little
need
pepper.
it. He definitely didn't need it.
He got a little pepper in the nose, a little sneeze.
No,
And
it went to his mouth. I promise you it did. He spit it out.
got in his cavities, if you will. Okay, so we see his amazing police work. We see he finds all the clues, the hair, the little piece of the table. His number one target is Matt Myers.
Yeah. Oh,
So what do we think he's going to do when he finds out Matt Myers, or is he going to attack Matt Myers? What's he going to do?
Well, okay. Clearly right now we have Haley Grimes is dead. So walking on, he's doing it really well. He's not saying anything. He's not being aggressive. He's keeping all of his investigation to himself.
Right.
The biggest thing is going to be whether or not that lab tech, the girl, has been paid off, because we know that all the labs were paid off when Haley was trying to go for it.
Yeah.
So if the lab tech has been paid off, Houghton's in some.
Or she doesn't end up in a.
Yeah, or if she
Best
dies.
Western.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, if she dies.
Hanging.
it's just a
I
hanging
thought he
symbol.
would have said something. I really
hangs
thought he
her
was,
again and
before
was
he
like,
left, he was
"Matt."
going to say, hey, don't tell nobody.
Yeah.
Don't tell nobody, by the way.
You gotta think, like, he probably doesn't realize. He probably isn't thinking that much.
Sure.
Like, clearly, some shady stuff happened with Haley's death, but he probably wasn't like, hey, lab tech, don't tell anyone that you have military
Lab
grade.
tech, I have a name. It's Corey, and I'm lovely.
I feel like though once he's already putting it together, and once it's like one complete package, the joy,
Yes.
the smile that he's gonna have when he's going to arrest Mr. Matt Myers. Oh,
The
it's gonna
stupid's
be
going to
great.
come back into.
Yeah.
You stupid, you're going to jail now.
All that dirt from Vietnam with that Agent Orange. Okay,
Yes.
we've talked enough. Let's go to some fan questions. Laura Lanham on Facebook says, I think Gordon is a Farrell. Is he a returner? I don't think so.
No, I think
think
he's just
so.
a hardcore environmentalist.
Yes.
Like when we had him on the
Hardcore.
show, he was talking about how he was like, no, the plants and the trees matter. Humanity is awful. And he really
Did any of you guys
Medic.
love the fact that he set up his little tent and he had his
Oh,
little
yeah.
chair and he had his little bottle and he was like, I love it up here on Farrell Mountain. They were like, all right, cutie, with your campsite, get the hell out.
your fancy
Big
tent.
Farrell, yeah, he hated him. That was great. But he does have obviously he's not a returner, but he does have that look. He has that look of an Asa Farrell.
He does. He does.
Coming into the real world. All right, let's go to Katie Nickel Hodges on Facebook, who says, personally, I'm afraid for Wade. We now know without a doubt that one planet will do just about anything to get what they want.
I was just going to say that before. I was going to, we've talked about it before. When $1 billion are at stake, nobody is safe.
Yep.
If it might not be Matt Myers, but Matt Myers likes to tip the big guys off, and all of a sudden people go disappearing.
I think Wade can hold his own. Like, Wade has proven himself over the course of this whole season.
Well, we know at the show
You're not going to sneak.
that he's going to, but it
Not
could.
gonna sneak up on him.
They could.
Yeah.
I'm just going
if
to say
they wanted to.
I'm going to say it. The most believable way to get rid of him, if they have to, is an overdose. Because he's known for
right.
having.
Well
That's
said.
my theories.
Nicole
theories.
Sterling
Wow,
theories.
she's back. She's back.
She did it.
Yeah.
Theories. Who's gonna induce that
Right?
overdose?
Right?
His girlfriend.
Girl.
Oh no.
Boom.
Yes.
We didn't see her this episode.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
final question here from @director_unexpected on Instagram. Crazy Big Foster and a crate of high-powered explosive, aka the mother of all dynamite. Not a good combination. I would venture to say you're
Yes.
correct there, Director
Yes.
Unexpected.
Oh, especially because of the end of the episode. Gwen was like, I release you, I release you, I release you, no more marriage vows. He's got nothing
Nothing.
to lose.
It was
And
like
he's
Kung
gonna-
Fu Fighter.
Oh, yeah.
The energy was like, it was pretty.
It was heartbreaking.
It was like, wow. And
But
he's
now
ooh.
he's gonna get drunk on Farrell wine. He's
Yeah.
got a ton of dynamite. Watch out,
Yeah, he's
season
focused.
finale.
All right, real quick before we go, I want to say that Hassel losing in the fight, it wasn't unexpected. He needed that impetus to get him back on the mountain.
Yeah. Sure.
We'll see what happens with he and Sassel and everything. I think that was a powerful moment and a powerful thing, the powerful vision in the crowd.
Yeah.
I loved every second of that. I know you guys
So
did
good.
too.
Yeah.
Sure.
So good.
I like
And,
Butch thinking he's Burgess Meredith. What you need, kid, is a manager. I thought he was going to start chasing chickens around.
And he
Get
had
the chicken.
And he had a skull ring like you.
He did have a skull ring.
Listen, we're all training for the finale. I'm out there hitting heavy
Yes.
bags. I'm drinking Farrell wine.
Yeah.
I know you guys are. I'm Josh McCouga. It'll do it for us here. here on the official after show of Outsiders on WGN America. I'm joined by the super fans as always, Nicole Sterling, Tiffany Commons, the big man Brett Wagner. Lay it on him, Brett.
Chris Underwood could not be here, but he says, folks, you Farrell fans, you want to follow the show at Outsiders WGN on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or go see the big chiefs at WGN America for updated content and all the good stuff. And listen, you want to see all these past 12 episodes we've done on the after show? Go to the stream.tv on the YouTube channel and check the stuff out. Now listen, there's one more episode left. The shiznit is going down on the mountain. If you do not watch next week, there is something up with you, and I will send Josh to your house to tell you weird stories about Pittsburgh. Yes. So, as we always say, get ya.
Get ya! I will come to your house
With weird stories.
Weird